Hi, folks. Thank you for coming to our session today, Building the AI-Powered Digital Workplace with AI Agents and Automation. To set the scene, I want you to imagine that it's a beautiful spring day, sun is shining, birds are singing, kind of like how it is here in Texas. And it's the perfect day to go for a run. You put on your best running shoes, maybe you stretch a little bit, and you head on down the road. And as you get about 1,000 yards into your pace, just as you start to feel good, there's a detour. You carry on, there's another detour. But you soldier on. You head on down, the road begins to break up a bit. And in fact, the weather begins to change. There's more detours. And what should have been a great run, what should have been a great day, actually turns more into a fight. And by the time you make your way back home, you say to yourself, was any of that worth it? Folks, my name is Rob Ryan. I'm the head of thought leadership and business value at WorkGrid Software, and I'm sure that analogy was not lost on you. That is our working day. That is the modern work environment. Every additional application, distraction, disruption breaks apart our employee experience. And today, I'm here to explore with you how automation and AI agents are not simply a futuristic concept, but a present-day way for us to take that broken road and turn it into a smooth path. We'll talk a little bit about digital friction, where it comes from, the downstream effects, but the majority of my conversation will be focused on how our customers, who are much like yourselves in various stages of their AI maturity and adoption, have helped to foster a greater employee experience with the use of smart workflows, automation, and AI agents. If we have some time at the end, I'll talk a bit around sensing friction, ways that our customers have been able to understand the pain within their organizations, and then how they've been able to address that, and what to look for in a conversational AI assistant. But first, we have to talk a bit about the elephant in the workplace, and that is digital friction. Gartner has a good definition of digital friction as the unnecessary effort an employee has to exert to use data or technology for work that gets in the way of focusing on the right tasks and making the right decisions. It's a good definition. I'll give you a simpler one. It's waste. Waste of time, waste of effort, waste of your life. Constantly wasted on things that you're not better suited for. And where does it come from? It comes from a number of areas. The first is application sprawl. We have too many places to go within our digital workplace to get work done. Once we get there, there's information overload, the filtering, the finding, having to validate information or move through tasks and workflows to get work accomplished. It's digital distractions, disruptions, all the pings, dings, the attention black holes, and notifications calling to us from those same applications, trying to bring us back to those apps to instantiate their value. And make no mistake about it, you've heard about it at the keynote, there's AI sprawl and agent sprawl that's on the horizon. As vendors rush to embed AI capabilities and AI agents into their products, there's a war of bots that's happening. So as we look at the digital workplace, we oftentimes forget just how many screens and apps we may filter through on a daily basis. In the keynote, they had mentioned that self-reporting shows 7+ apps, but it's much greater than that. Think about it. You have your intranet, your CRM, your HCM, all the wikis that you have. You have your email, your extranet, your productivity suites. Now agents are entering into the foray. And you see this within the data that gets reported. I'm sure all these statistics are very familiar with you. Average knowledge workers, if we do study on them, they're going to be using 30+ applications per day. They're going to waste over 50% of that time locating, validating, filtering through that information. Context switching. Your average knowledge worker will context switch anywhere between 1,500 to 3,000 times, alt-tabbing back and forth. And there's some great research from Professor Gloria Marks out of UC Irvine that has shown that if you interrupt an employee, it will take a full 23 minutes for them to come back into the flow of work. And wasn't technology supposed to improve our lives? So what's the downstream effect here? So if we're missing important communications, news, et cetera, there's less strategic alignment. There's lower trust and lower engagement within the organization. If we're missing time constantly context switching back and forth, if there's too many steps to complete processes, that's decreased productivity, eroded attention, and certainly slower decision making as a whole. And if we're overwhelming employees with having to constantly validate their information, if it's hard to find information, that's increased stress, increased cortisol, and lower ENPS. So at WorkGrid, we believe that there's certainly a better way of working, and that's one that starts with the employee. See, we have to look at the intent of the employee. The chaos of the digital workplace happens in the fact that they have all these applications, and we're not going to consolidate that down to one particular super app, if you will. So we have to cut through the clutter and marry their intent to a utility-rich outcome from the everyday apps they already consume. So if we could bring the information, those transactions, wherever they happen to be, well, now we're changing the relationship they have with their technology by guiding their attention and driving actions. This could be like time off, pay, alerts, notifications, etc., or the ability for them to engage with their AI assistant. And that's the key takeaway here. It's not another place to go. Conversational AI should be a sidekick to the employee day, not another destination, not another specific URL for them to go to. So imagine wherever you are. It's on your intranet, working within your collaboration suite, your browser, Teams. That digital assistant, that AI assistant is a sidekick, providing you with the right information at the right time, when and where you need it. So what I'd like to do is highlight some of the automation and AI use cases across our customer base. And like I said, much like yourselves, they're at various stages of their own AI maturity. Speaking of AI maturity, and I'm sure you've seen a ton of these data points coming out, and they update on the month, on the weekly from various reports. We have statistics such as 28% of employees are currently using Gen AI in their role. That's fantastic. 92% of companies are investing in Gen AI projects over 2020 time per McKinsey just a few months ago. What's more interesting, on the AI agent side, and this was a study performed by KPMG, over half of organizations are exploring the use of agents within their workplace, but it's very nascent in terms of those who have deployed agents. So it's very early on. We haven't necessarily missed the boat here. And we understand that certainly transformative AI is the goal for many organizations, but it has to be right for you, it has to be right for your organization, and the introduction of that has its risks and its benefits. So for those organizations, it's approximately 18-20% of those who are in that exploration stage, the assessment stage. They're trying to build out their business cases, but they haven't deployed AI services as of yet. Now, these are currently just plans. They're not pilots embedded into the org. There's many ways that we can start to enhance the employee experience. One way our customers have done this is by capturing the day and the life as a part of a daily briefing. So an intelligent daily briefing that highlights some of those pertinent key notifications, tasks that live within applications within their tech stack. This can come and be delivered to those employees when and where they are. Let's take our avatar here, Doug. He's presented with this AI assistant within his browser, and he's getting shown a number of tasks, information, and actions, smart to-dos, smart to-knows, right as he begins his day and wherever he happens to be. In this example here, he's seeing a notification of a to-do, a task or action, to submit his timesheet, where he could perform this action directly in the AI assistant, and that record would go into his back-end system and record it for him. He could also receive important news, nudges, alerts, etc., that keep him aligned to the org so those aren't lost in the clutter of the day. He could also engage with FAQs and ask questions to the assistant wherever he happens to be, that again taps into all of those applications, knowledge bases, etc., that he's looking to gain access to. Now, let's say Doug, he tried to ask some questions in relation to issues he's having into logging into Salesforce, but he wasn't able to accomplish this. One of the very common patterns and use cases that we see in conversational AI is both ticket deflection, searching for knowledge-based articles, self-service, but also the ability to expedite that ticket as a part of the process. Here, he's chatting to his assistant. Please open an urgent IT ticket called Sync Passwords. It's going to capture his utterance, pre-populate it as a part of that form field, And we'll also provide him with smart updates in time so he's not having to go back out to that ITSM system. So he gets a notification that it's been created, but as it goes through its life cycle, as it moves through, he'll have that peppered in as part of his to-knows. Now, Doug, he's looking for some information and to procure some assets for his home. Perhaps it's a mouse, a keyboard, whatnot, some software. Here, does Doug really need to know that we use SAP Ariba in his day? Should he have to go out to another system to learn its UI, understand its UX, and then march through that process, which is going to take time and certainly irritate him? Here, he's chatting too. I have to purchase some items for my home. He's quickly able to navigate to what he wants and what he's looking to procure. And what does his manager see? His manager is going to receive a smart to-do as a part of her AI assistant. She's getting highlight that there's a new procurement request coming in from Doug. She's not having to go back into our procurement system, and she's getting those details as a snapshot. Here's a summary, his mouse, his price, whatever fields we have defined as a part of our business process. She can approve, reject, add her comments. One thing to note here, this is a very common pattern in terms of tasks and approvals. So it can be applied to employee expenses, timesheets, transfer cycles, change management orders, etc. You can see where this can easily be applicable. In fact, one of our customers took a look at this as a part of their first implementation to really understand the power of conversational AI, and they began to compress approval times, which would commonly take anywhere between 7 and 14 days, down to hours. Why? They weren't getting lost in the shuffle of the day. They were being brought forth as a part of the experience wherever they happened to be. Now, what's the benefit there? Faster approval times, cash cycle times, productivity, and certainly decision making. Now, what if you're one of the organizations who are in the early majority? You're piloting Gen AI capabilities. You're trying to see what's right for your organization. Here's where we can begin to start to load test some projects that we have. Very common pattern is self-service and knowledge. Here, Doug's actually in the Teams experience of WorkGrid, so his AI assistant's embedded within Teams. It'll be a mirrored effect within his browser as well, or any other channels. He's asking about how much will he get for an eye test, as well as can I book some extra legroom on this particular flight? Chat to policies, procedures, documents, etc. Quite common. Most organizations want very tight, explicit, grounded results from their knowledge bases and what they're looking to target. It's also showcasing a source here as well, because naturally we want to trust but validate and bring the employee back, if they so choose, back to the answer where we have this document or this policy. Another very common pattern that we see is onboarding. So what's your typical onboarding look like? It's a flutter of emails, checklists, et cetera, and applications. It's also happening during a very important time within your lifespan of your company, right as you get started. And what happens? You bounce through systems like a deer in headlights, and it causes a drain on your time, and certainly a reflection on how you feel as a part of the organization. Here, our buddy Doug, he's presented with intelligent nudges, actions, etc., that allows him smoother acculturation and onboarding into the organization. It also allows for the aspect to be a conversational onboarding buddy. Naturally, there's going to be common questions that he's going to be asking to the assistant that oftentimes are parsed out to colleagues and whatnot. This allows him to chat directly with the AI assistant and him to get his answers. Another example here, we certainly know that Gen AI is all the rage. One thing we should know is that our employees, if they don't have access to Gen AI, an organizational ChatGPT, they're going to be taking screenshots of their phone. They're going to be sending themselves content and potentially using that. That's a huge risk factor. But what if we could constrain those experiences down so that we're able to define the business appropriate use and the guidelines directly within the assistant? Here is our Genie app, and this is one of our Insight Genies, where the definition of how we will use the content summarization is being dictated, but also he can input his content that he's going to analyze. He can make some additional prompts here and then generate his insight. We're constraining that use case down. So we're putting those guardrails as we begin to define what's appropriate for our organization and then the value for these use cases, as opposed to just simply opening up our organizational ChatGPT to the world and we get the hello world problem. Now, what about organizations who are ahead of the game? They're transforming the way they do business. You've already deployed Gen AI, your AI maturity model is well established, you have governance in place, you have a program strategy. There's many ways you can begin to enhance that employee experience. First is AI agents, of course. You've heard this in, I'm sure, many sessions over the last day or so. Agents can be used to automate particular tasks and actions across multiple applications and data repositories. So this could be a sales leader asking the assistant for key data on Salesforce and then preparing perhaps an emailed response to their team and then tossing that draft within Outlook, all automated as a part of the conversation utterance. Or another example, had a product here asking for reminders on OKRs to their employees, and the same process continues. Preparing that statement, here's a snapshot of it. By the way, I've already prepared it. It's in your inbox. We're compressing that time of operations. Another way, let's say we're a more open organization, we're looking for that corporate LLM to be a part of our experience. Here, Doug, he's asking a general question. Hey, I'm working with a company that mentioned 6 Sigma black belts. We'll give him a break. He's young. It's giving him that response. But what we can do here is we can target models based upon roles and personas. So perhaps we're giving our executives 4.5. Perhaps we're giving our developers the ability to enhance and edit their code. Our interns, we're giving lower cost models. What does that do? Well, that helps us to optimize our cost and spend on LLM services and us to use our own services. If we've developed our own models, we can hook those in as well. And that changes the engagement types that we have and the experiences for the org. And of course, the AI assistant acts as really that master agent. So as agents begin to build within the organization as a part of our catalog, the master agent will talk to the other agents to rationalize, broker, and create those automations for employees. Quick example here is a marketing rep asking for particular sales data. They're given that snapshot in time as part of a smart app. And here's where you begin to see the opportunity of connecting multiple systems, actions, and mini agents as a part of that experience. So how do we get started with AI and agents? Many of our customers have taken those first steps to really understanding it comes from pain. It comes from the friction that's happening within the workplace. And so initial friction sensing has to occur. And this can be looking at the qualitative areas, such as your employee journeys, onboarding, promotional cycles, et cetera. Where is there pain within the org within a particular phase? Or line of business function. We're looking to improve sales enablement, sales cycle times, et cetera. Or conceptually, knowledge search and discovery is quite difficult here. We want to attack this from a very specific basis. There's also the qualitative side of things, coming at it from ticketing, expenses, procurement, looking at transactions that we can begin to smooth throughout the day, or looking at redundant workflows. Some deeper studies, we've had customers who have done observational studies really following their employees, doing timestamps, understanding where they end up getting caught up within their day, or even sense-making in stories, having them share anecdotes of challenges that they've had throughout their experience. One of our customers went so far as to begin to map in course for their use cases as they started their deployment. So what they did was they said, okay, if friction happens on a frequency basis, there's friction that happens once yearly and potentially all the way to daily, and there's a degree of pain to that, well, perhaps we can begin to attack this and assess it from a use case perspective. So they looked at onboarding. Okay, onboarding, high friction, oftentimes a pretty ugly experience when it comes to most organizations, but it only happens once. Yet the blast radius of that effect is quite significant because it's the first engagement that we have within our org. And scheduling, everyone knows how to use their calendars, so you know what? That's daily, but it's very low risk. People understand what they're doing. And they began to map out, well, what particular use cases might be right for us, and they began to ring fence in, okay, what is going to be the benefit for us addressing help and support, sales enablement, knowledge discovery and approvals? And they started to very readily define the economic output and benefit to these levers, as well as time value, who's going to own the potential use case, what's the risk potential for its deployment, what data do we need to clean up if we're going to deploy an area for sales, ops, and enablement. Do we have the application access? Who are the persona groups that need to be defined? And what's the complexity here? Because if we don't have ownership, if we don't have access to clean data, well, perhaps we should look at something else. And what they began to build out is a suite and flight of use cases that they could quickly address and define. And this is an eye chart here, so it'll be a part of our slides. And in fact, expanded further out here to understand who the owners were, who the individuals will help to maintain the use case, what's the economic benefit, and of course the risk. And they started with naturally low risk, high benefit areas in which to introduce the AI assistant. Now let's talk a bit around technology and what to look for in an AI assistant. Naturally, it has to really mirror your organization, your objectives, and your culture. Many AI assistants out there, or co-pilots, they're quite frankly horrible chatbot experience underneath the covers. They're pro-code exercises. So when you're looking for an AI assistant, it has to work and operate within your tech stack. It has to connect to the things within your house in accordance to your business goals and your objectives. So let's touch upon a few of those areas. The first, it has to be ubiquitous. It has to be wherever the employee happens to be. It has to have the ability for the user to engage with it, whether it's in its browser, in Teams, because naturally we're not going to consolidate all our applications into one. Employees are going to have to move around, but let's change the relationship that the technology has with them. Now, besides operating with the employees, it also has to deliver value where they are. It can't necessarily be just a chatbot, just a co-pilot waiting for instructions. It needs to deliver smart, intelligent to-dos, to-knows, so that it can showcase its utility and thus drive adoption. Number one reason for adoption is utility. Is it useful? Here's where that begins to change. Can it deliver me value, and can I get value out of it when I ask it questions? Another bit for rapid AI assistant experiences, there has to be ability to quickly develop these experiences to quell that friction down. That ultimately would be weeks and months and be a PS heartache down to hours. So having the ability to quickly compose experiences, mini agents, as a part of the assistant allows for us to tailor and define use cases based upon our needs. And the ideal is defining quick mini agents that go towards particular populations that they can see value quite readily. So having a low-code, no-code agent builder allows for us to also federate that ownership down into businesses so that they can build specific agents for their functions, their needs, and their business objectives. And in fact, one of our customers was able to decrease some of the development time that they were already experimenting with down to 8 to 10x on what they were trying to do from a pro-code perspective. Last but not least is being able to quickly connect to the common data sources and applications that you already have within your tech stack. The data sources already have to be there. That's what we have as part of Work Grid Builder, our low-code, no-code application. The data sources, the templates, and speaking of templates, we have 50 templates out of the box. Why does that help? They're long pull use cases that we've seen success from our customers time and time again, but allows for you to quickly swap and replace depending on the underlying business app that you have. So perhaps it's procurement related to Ariba, you use another application, you have the template therein, you can swap the data sources in and out, or you need to start to change it based upon your business operations and approach. You can do that quite rapidly as a part of the experience. So folks, in closing, the world certainly changed. Very exciting days with AI and AI agents, but people have not, and certainly when it comes to adoption. But if we can take a step back, understand the friction that they have within their day, we can build the digital workplaces that we all want. Intelligent, connected, and now humane. Thank you for your time. If you'd like to know more, please come on down to the podium, or you can see us at booth 401 in the exhibition hall. Thank you.